In this session, we're going to take a look at EventSentry's event log backup functionality. That's part of its system health functionality. With that feature, you can actually back up any event log in its native EVTX format. You can also compress those EVTX files and then store them in a safe location. You can schedule these backups so you can run them every hour, every day, and so forth. Now, this is not to be confused with EventSentry's log consolidation functionality, which essentially monitors the event logs in real time, passes them through the filter rules, and stores them in a database or forwards them to any of the many supported action like a database, email, syslog, and so forth. So where do we configure this? So under System Health, we can create a new package. We can call that event log backups, for example. Then we'll add the event log backup object. This package is not assigned, so we're going to assign that to the local machine here, like we usually do. And here's the dialog. So why would you want to use the backup event logs functionality instead of consolidating the logs to a database? Well, there's a couple of different scenarios and reasons why you would want to do that. First of all, in many cases, you can use that in addition to the real-time event log monitoring and consolidation. So there's nothing wrong with saying, okay, I'm storing all my event logs in a searchable database, but in addition, I'm also making actual event log backups. The main difference is, of course, that when you backup event logs, they're being written to EVTX files that retain the original format of the event log. And of course, they are not searchable, but they contain all the metadata that may otherwise be lost when you store them in the EventSentry database. Now, EventSentry does retain a lot of properties, a lot more than what you would get usually when you do, for example, a consolidation via syslog. But of course, we're not storing XML formats or things of that nature in the EventSentry database. So if for some reason you need this, or let's say you wanted to have checksums of the EVTX files, make sure they're not tampered with and things like that. So in that case, doing an actual event log backup may be preferable. In most cases, this is not necessary. Storing them in the EventSentry database is a lot easier. It makes the log searchable, allows you to subscribe to notifications and so forth. But for those rare cases where you have to have an actual event log backup, you can use this feature. And the configuration is pretty straightforward. You essentially hit the plus icon to create a schedule. You select the log that you want to back up. Or you can also select all legacy event logs, but in most cases, you probably want to pick a specific log. You'll say when you want to back it up. So for example, every day. And you pick a time, let's say 1 a.m. And by default, it gives you already a file name that will describe this log. So obviously we're starting with the host name, so we can tie this to the host where this backup was performed, the name of the log, and then of course a timestamp. You can of course also add a folder, which is recommended. So for example, let's call this event log backups. You can then decide, do you want to compress that log? In most cases, you'll want to do that. And also decide whether you want to clear the event log. And we're going to leave this unchecked. And that's pretty much it. So this created a schedule every day at 1 a.m. That event log is going to get backed up. If I were to create a new schedule, let's say I want to create several schedules, back one up at 1 o'clock, one at 6 o'clock, then I'll probably want to change it to clear the event log so that I don't have duplicate data being backed up. But otherwise, that's pretty much all that needs to be done. You can also create a notification here if the event log is full. This is more of a legacy feature. It's not usually necessary anymore, and it's definitely not recommended to configure the event log to not accept any more logs when it's full. So this is a group policy option, usually to basically not overwrite old events, but generally speaking, it's recommended to configure your event logs to overwrite events as needed. So that would be this option here. If we go here to the security event log and we view the properties of this log, then here it's set to override events as needed. If we set it to do not override events, then you could utilize that option here to let you know that the log for example, is full. But again, in most cases, it's advised to set this to or leave it at override events as needed. And that's all there is to this feature. Simply create the package, create your schedules, and archive the resulting EVTX and zip files as needed. I'm going to show you what the event looks like when we do actually back up this event log. So to start off with, let's create a directory here called event log backups. It's a good thing to have that. Let's take current time. So we're going to create a backup at 4:45. Should be just enough time for that. And again, we're doing a security backup. I'm going to clear it just for the heck of it, and going to deploy it. As always, we're going to go to the application event log. We're going to wait for that 10:35 event. Make sure we get that before 4:45. And there we are. Now we're just going to wait 53 seconds. And here we're going to do C event log backups. Close this again. We don't need that. We don't need the... Well, we're going to leave the event view open to illustrate that it's actually empty. So if we maximize this, columns are not very helpful here. But if you take a look here, we'll see that the security event log does have 27,000 events in it currently. And there we are. We've got an event logged. It's informational, so that's always a good thing. And here it says event log was successfully backed up and cleared. Event log security. Here's the file name. Remember, we just included the hour in this particular case, so if this looks a little confusing here. So we do have the date here, August 1st, and here 16 for the hour. We have a file size, and we also have a checksum. Now if we go check out a couple of things here. Event viewers, we're going to refresh that. And if we look, we have 8,000 events now. So the event log was, in fact, cleared. Because remember, we had a lot more earlier, and the size was 20 megabytes. And then here's the actual event log. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Here's the event log backup file. It's a zip file. And we can say extract all. And we'll just extract it to this folder here. And we can see here that the name of the file, of course, is retained here. So just without the zip extension, you can see that it compresses it quite considerably. So down from 20 megabytes just to 1 megabyte. So it's just over 90%. And then you can open this EVTX file in the event viewer, or you can actually import it again manually in EventSentry and so forth. But that's really how simple it is. You just create a package, create a schedule, and back up and optionally clear your event logs.